Hello friends, and welcome back to Sincerely Kaylani. My name is Kaylani and I make videos about my chaotic sewing journey and some things about my lifestyle. Today we are back at it with another installment of my Lynde House series, making my Victorian Ensemble. So the Lynde House Museum has put on this Victorian Workshop Sunday. The event has already passed, and let me just say, it was amazing. It was so fun, and I can't wait to share more about that in a future video. But what you're going to be seeing today is just a little behind the scenes of how I created my corset cover, which you're seeing right now, as well as my blouse and my skirt. If you are interested in the basic kind of pattern I created, I did upload a photo to my Pinterest, so be sure to head into the description and follow my link tree to my Pinterest to see what that pattern looks like when laid out flat. Now, when it came to making these pieces, I really just kind of went with the flow. The majority of the pieces are made from squares and rectangles, like the corset cover and the blouse, and they're made in a way so that I could use up all the fabric that I had. As for the corset cover, I only had a small amount of this white. For the red blouse that you'll be seeing soon, that was all I had in that, so I really had to be wise about what I was doing. So the blouse. This blouse is inspired by the Garibaldi blouse that was worn by young women during the 1860s. It's based off of a Italian war hero's blouse who would typically wear a red blouse to signify his group so that you would be able to tell who he was. Mine was created by having 2 squares for the body, 2 squares for the sleeves, square underarm gores, and then some rectangles for the sleeve cuff and for the button placket. That might seem kind of confusing when it comes to when you're thinking, regular pattern making. You wouldn't typically have all these squares, and you might be wondering how you put these squares together. Well, that will actually be something that will be coming in the near future. I do plan on starting to sell some patterns to you guys and having some videos to give you guys as well, so you can learn how to create these zero waist, low waist garments yourself, and just have fun and experiment, because that's what low waist is all about. But my inspiration for these pieces, other than from history itself, came from my study in school. I created dresses using this same technique, obviously, but just in a longer form to make dresses. And the most helpful videos, if you are interested, I found there are 2 videos by Bernadette Banner, her making an 18th century pirate shirt, as well as a 17th century, 18th century chemise, I believe. She's able to really easily go over how these pieces fit together and why they work. And honestly, it was one of the best sources, other than my other historical fashion books and from other research through Pinterest and whatnot. Her videos are extremely helpful, and I'm sure if you're in the historical costuming community that you already know her. She's our girl. But yeah, so this blouse, I have a love-hate relationship with it. I love the fabric. I mostly love the shape that it created. I love the little details I put in, which you won't see in this video, but you will see in the big reveal and everything about the Lynde House video. But I made a lot of mistakes. And that's one of the things that I've talked about before is I'm not perfect, especially when it comes to making these things. Haven't perfected everything. I usually go with the flow, and that's why this is called chaotic seamstressing. But you'll see in the reveal, maybe, but I personally didn't like how the collar fit and how the button placket fit and how I designed it. But all in all, it's still a wearable piece. I may try and, fix it up a little bit by adding an extra seam in the back to tighten up the collar, because this is a boxy fit shirt. So that's not really something I need to worry about, but I'm really happy with how it came out. Now, the skirt. Again, I've got a love-hate relationship with this skirt. I love the linen. I thought it was going to be too heavy, but it actually ended up being pretty good. I believe I talked about in my first video about adding pleats to the waistband, and I should have listened to myself and done pleats rather than gathers, because it most likely would have looked better, but I was in a little bit of a rush. As you see, we've changed locations because this is the day before we headed out to the Lynde house. This is the Saturday before, so I'm at my parents' house and I am trying to get this done. And again, when it comes to these pieces, the squares that you saw me cut out, those are actually pockets, and then the trapezoidal triangle pieces, those are the skirts. You see me doing a lot of this trimming, sewing a line, trimming it, sewing it again, and sewing it again. This technique that I'm doing is called a French seam. Basically, when you're doing a regular seam, you would sew right sides together. But with a French seam, you sew wrong sides together. You grade or trim down that seam allowance to 1/4 or 1/8 of an inch, depending on your fabric. And then you fold that fabric so now it's right sides together to encase that raw edge. You sew that up, and for me, I sewed it down to make it like a flat felled seam, so a seam that you would see on your jeans. And I sewed that down as well, so that there would be a top stitch that you can see on the outside, but all the seam allowance, which would be all folded in each other, is on the inside. I was doing this for all of my pieces because at the time I did not have a good serger, but luckily I actually got a brand new one. My mom actually thrifted me one for $60, and oh my goodness, the person who owned it before, they took such good care of it, and I'm so grateful that I now have this piece and I'll be able to create so many more things, and I'm so excited to create things for you guys as well. That is my ultimate goal, is to be able to create these garments for you, for not just my friends and family, but for those who enjoy watching me chaotically sew. All in all, this skirt came together super easily, lots of long seams because it was a full length skirt, which is why you really only ever see snippets of me sewing, because it was full length and it's kind of really boring to just watch one seam just go on forever and ever. But that is the beauty of this sewing technique, is that it's a lot of straight sewing, and with my pattern making, it's a lot of straight sewing, so it's in a sense beginner friendly, as long as you get to understand how the pieces come together, which I am praying that I will be able to do that for you guys. And I'll be able to give you that information, and I'll be able to help you learn how to create these garments for yourselves, for others, and just be mindful of your sewing practice. So I'm so happy to be able to show this to you, and I can't wait to see you guys for the next video all about the Lynde house and on the workshops. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye guys.